We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson here in the studio with Dane McKinney, Trevor Howard, Mark Gallegos, and our very special guest, Jordan Tampien. Jordan, you're a powerhouse, man. Thanks for coming all the way here from Spokane to be with us.
Oh, anytime you have no rain on the west side of the state, we head this way. It's like you're fleeing for some sun.
Okay, so we'll see you like 3 months out of the year.
Exactly. I get over here about 4 times. So.
Jordan is... correct me if I'm wrong. You're owner, founder of 4 Degrees Real Estate.
Correct. Yep.
Big brokerage, property management division, and you guys are developing, building stuff. So we're gonna dig into your operation and get your story
you
from
missed, author, gym owner.
It's part of the story. It's a good narrative as we move through.
You do a lot of stuff.
Serial entrepreneur is what you called it, right?
Soon to be 100-mile runner.
So we'll talk. I'm just got to listen to more of your episodes. I'm getting slowly and motivated, but then every story sounds worse. So I'm like, I just drove almost 100 miles. I'm like, can you imagine running that?
That was enough.
Oh, and it was flat. I was like, geez, even the BMW had trouble going up the hill. So I'll work up to that one.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show with us today. We want to dig in and get to know you a little bit. Can you take us back in your story, and we'll let you talk as long as you want to talk, but take us back to who is Jordan? Like, how did this happen? Were you born this way? Did something affect your life somewhere along the way? Were you raised in a certain way? How did you become Jordan Tampien?
Yeah, I think it's funny. You eventually in life you look back and there's these moments that define the decision that goes left or right. And my family wasn't entrepreneurial. My dad was a private school teacher. I'm one of 7 kids. And so we kind of had this close-knit family in Moses Lake, Washington, center of nowhere, center of Washington State. And kind of going through it, well, it was fast forward. I was like, my dad's like, well, what do you go do? And he's like, well, whatever makes the most money. Go be a lawyer. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound fun, but I guess it makes money, and I don't want this situation. So kind of went on that law, went to Whitworth University in Spokane. That's where I met my wife, and then Gonzaga for law school. And I was in law school the first year. I had just written a $45,000 check for the first year, and you're sitting in there listening, and I'm falling asleep. This is the most boring stuff ever. And I'm like, God, I know myself well enough. This is not going to be for me. And so luckily I have the most amazing wife, but she's like, well, let's get out of here. Like, do a study abroad. So I got accepted to the University of London. Wow. And I was like, you know what I want to do is I want to help businesses buy and sell. I want to do mergers and acquisitions, but I want to do big ones, like international. And so I studied in London. Well, in London, I saw what the world looked like for the first time. And I saw, wait a second, this building's been here 500 years. Why are we trying to recreate this stuff? The architecture's awesome. This is awesome. And so I kind of came back with this idea of, well, okay, you could earn money. That's great. But I think you could also go build wealth in different ways. And at that point, my parents had bought their first flip. And so I was in law school, and I'm like, well, I need money. I'm broke. And so I'd go over and hang drywall, do all that stuff. And luckily, my dad, throughout the whole time, taught us how to do it. Like, I can tell you the screw we use on our apartment building and why. Like, I know every building we have down to why we chose that part. And kind of fast forward that, my wife came back, and we were at a wedding, and there was this random curtain and a camera, and these people were having a blast going in and out. Well, it was one of the first photo booths in Spokane. You'd have them on weddings or event style, and I'm like, why don't we do that? You're already a photographer. Let's just try this. And so went online, found this awesome photo booth for $8,000. And I was like, okay, we have $0. How does this actually work? So I went to her parents. I'm like, can you loan us money? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't work. And I'm like, well, let's just sell some of them. And so we sold 20 events without ever buying it, and then bought it, built it, and within 4 years, it was doing 300 events at $1,200 an event. And it was all it cost us was paper, $40 an event. So at that time, I was trying to go through this public interest loan forgiveness to get rid of these stupid loans I took for school. And so I was working at a nonprofit building their entire nonprofit portfolio of real estate. And so I was retooling these, like, picture the worst financing things you can get, LIHTC, HAP grants, state funds, housing. And you're just like, this is not realistic. This is terrible. And so my wife was like, well, I'm going to go back to school. Like, photography is great, but I'm going to get my master's in teaching. And she's like, well, you already help all these people anyway. I'm not going to be home. Why don't you go sell some real estate? If you get your law degree, you've come to find out you don't even have to take classes. And so I was like, well, that'd be fun. I like this. So First year sold 10, next year sold 60, next year sold 100 properties. And
You sold 60 in your second year?
And then 100, and I'm like, wait a second. So I'm making $500,000 here. I'm making $40,000 a year at this nonprofit. And I was like, but I can actually kind of do them both. And so just kind of at that point, Spokane, now I feel really old, but you could buy a house. This is post-recession, so timeline is around 2010, 11, for $50,000. And so every time I closed a deal, I bought a house. Closed a deal, bought a house. And so we just lived off the $40,000, and so accumulated like 40 houses. And then Spokane hit this massive spike of a 5-year stretch. It went up 22% per year. And so you kind of do the story, like it's a bigger pocket story. And you're like, wait a second, so I don't like 30 houses. This sucks. Like, why don't I have one with 30 doors? And that kind of started that path for me, at least, down that way. And so you hit this point where you have no overhead. You're making $500 doing that. You're making rental income. I'm trading businesses. The issue is my tax bills are high. So I run into a really good friend, and he's like, well, I run restaurants. I'm like, well, I like commercial, so I'll do the buildings, you do the restaurants. So we accumulated 9 of those. Then it was like, well, you don't make any money off food. The guy who sells us the beer makes all the money. So then we created a brewery to sell beer to our own places. And then you start in the field, and it's why I love being a broker, is then you get introduced to deals. And so we go into this gym that's been there for 40 years. It's had the same EBITDA for 20 of them. And it's this prime piece of real estate. And he goes, well, I've been trying to sell for 5 years. Like, I go, I'll buy it. And I go, but right now, like, you got to owner finance it. There's just going to be too much work to get all this done. So owner finance it 2%. So that was the first gym. And I'm like, well, if we're going to have one gym, nobody's going to buy one gym. You need 3. So then we bought another gym because it was on multifamily land. So we just finished 107 units on it next to a gym. And so it just kind of, my life is a little bit more like Slumdog Millionaire, right? You can answer the question because you lived the experience.
Yeah.
And so really for me, it's just been a story of that. And kind of in the meantime was a professor at WSU. So I always had this kind of day job piece to my life. And then it wasn't until 2015 that it was just like, nope, we're going all in. And fortunately, it was 2015 when I went all in. It was a sweet time to do it. So fortunately, now you fast forward, and the author thing came from when you're a professor, you have to write this big published work. And so I wrote a book to get the published work, because then they can't really fire you if you have that behind you. And so now I'm an author from that, and then wrote another one kind of what I went through.
What'd you write on?
So that was back where I don't think millennials got a good head start. I actually think it's going to be really hard, especially for our next generation, even to create wealth. And so what I found, though, but if you could get into learning businesses and value, so it was really like a hack on how you get there. And then it had a really big section on how to forgiveness programs and things on student loans.
What's your book called if somebody wants to find it?
First one was called Living at Zero. And the idea was, hey, set a budget. It's a mix of everybody that way. But it was like, in my head, it was like, we only have 40,000, but I was making 600. It's just 400 or 560 of it was going to investments. So the idea was just build these 3 buckets that you can use, and then that way you can kind of slowly develop that passive income over time. And so, yeah, I mean, it was good. It sold, I don't know, 5,000 copies or 6,000. It was through the school, so it's through the published thing there. And so it's really just been a life of this chance and seeing opportunities and connecting dots. And I think that's been really where it's helped me the most. And then it just kind of scaled up from there. We started 4 Degrees, and all, which is our real estate management company. A buddy says, hey, I got this guy that's selling a $22 million piece of property. He's just going to pay the $8 million in tax and go away. And he goes, I think you should talk to him about 1031. So I grab my phone. I'm like, what is a 1031? I still remember to this day. And then he's like, well, okay, he's going to stop by your office. Well, at the time it was me, my brother, and my mom. My mom was more broker. And then I was like, Mom, you have to sit at the front so it looks like we have a receptionist at least. I said, I'll have the conference room. Me and Joel will look busy when he comes in. There's this whirlwind best guy, and he comes in and he's like, I pitch him this idea. I'm like, why pay the tax? Look, you can actually get a pretty good basis on this land. Just the NOI, the day one NOI will return you more than the Russell share would. Nothing. He leaves. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Calls me that next day, and he's like, I'm coming down. We wrote 30 LOIs and spent $36 million in the next 3 months. Scaled our management from my doors to almost 700, and then it just kind of
went from there.
So that's a long-winded version. And in the middle there was like, I've always had this dream of owning a sports team, so I bought the sports team, the professional sports team in Spokane, and like little things like that. But it's like as I lift the tide with one thing, my rents got better.
What sports team is that?
So the Spokane Velocity and Zephyr. So it's a USL D1 team and then a Division III team. So So that's the breadth of kind of what I covered, and I'll explain why you should never do that. So because it sounds really cool, but I'll explain the pain of the last 2 years when you do too much. But I think there's some community elements into everything we do. So
could you speak to how you sold 60 houses or 60 deals in your second year in real estate? Because I think there's a lot of real estate people that listen to this, and that is mind blowing because they hear 10 and they're like, "That's the goal."
That's a good year.
Yeah.
What year was that?
So that would have been 2009-10. So what I did right away was I don't like actually working a ton with friends and buyers that way. So I just find investors. So then I'm selling blocks of houses. And so the downside then was the average home price was only like 200. Actually, my average home price was probably 150.
Yeah.
So you had to sell 100
A bunch of them
to even get there. And then same thing, right? I guess my story is just this. That was a lot of work. I'm like, why am I not just selling one 100 unit building for that? And so kind of my biggest year was 125 million in commercial sales that you did, but that's 12 transactions.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of this amorphous, but I think a lot of people avoid the investor because they don't know what they're talking about. And I would argue get really knowledgeable and find them because they're your recurring kind of revenue piece. And then your friends will buy, people will buy. But it really did help me kind of bridge because nobody was really buying then. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to convince them to buy, and they're like, "Is this the bottom?" I'm like, "Pretty sure it's the bottom. The land's got to be worth more than this." I'm like, "What are we arguing here?" So it was kind of a change from that, and then it's just managing time. And at that time, we had no kids, so it was just go work.
So how did you manage all that time? Because that's a lot of things you did and jump between.
Yeah, so you just kind of, especially with real estate, again, investors didn't need to see the house. I could walk a house and they would put an offer. So you could build a relationship where I'm just making them money that way. And then every weekend was usually when I would show houses. And then that's why we got my mom in the business. So then she kind of became my buyer's agent before there was really the team concept. So she would go out and show the houses and do that part, and then I would negotiate and close the deals. So it fit really well, and that's kind of how our brokerage even started. It was like, wait, we'd love to come hang our hat here. And I'm like, oh, please don't. And then it just escalated.
Yeah. So are you building out systems and hiring more employees for each business and then starting the next one? Because and running them all at once still.
Yeah, so what I did, I think learned early on was learning what I don't know really well. So then I would go find a partner. So how this 4 degrees happened was I had about 40 of these. So I'm selling real estate, working full time, and then trying to run and maintain. Like 50,000, let's be honest here, right? This is when everybody talks about go buy a $50,000 house in Mississippi. Those are not nice homes. They have problems. They have significant problems. So then I'm over there fixing knob and tube wiring, old plumbing. And so I remember painting doors at 2 a.m. just to get it turn ready. And so my brother was ex-special forces in the military, and I'm like, well, that doesn't translate to many things, but you probably collect rent pretty well. So I was like, hey, bro, I got an idea. Something novel. We're going to let's create a management company.
What branch was he?
So he was Army, just Rangers. Yeah. And so he still does kind of the reserves, but brought him over. And so he's logistics, he's planning, and then lets me go do what I do. And then the restaurant piece was because I found the best operator of restaurants in Spokane. Let me build you the building, you run them. And then I get to collect revenue and bring people here to eat. And so it just kind of was finding the right operators, and then I just go do my side of it. So
you're electric, dude.
Oh, it's fun. It's because you get excited about it. But then if you ever want to make me cry, just ask what happened in 23 to 25.
And I'll start 23 to 25.
Oh, man. So escalating, right? This is just an upward hockey stick.
Wait, give me 2015 to 23 first.
Oh, it was just
you bought all the
massive
houses,
growth.
Started building somewhere in there.
Yeah.
You were developing yourself somewhere in there. Just decided you could do that for sure.
Same thing, right? First office.
Yeah.
Got my bid from the contractor.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not paying that.
No way.
So we fixed it.
I can do that.
And then the day I finished it, we went from 4 agents to 44 agents. I'm like, shoot, this is too small. And our whole model is collaboration because I believe you can't do this remote way. Just remote work will never work. You got to be together. So we get a bigger building. 1 year to fix that one. I hire somebody for that one. And then 6 months after, we add 40 more agents with not enough parking. So I find the next building. So I 4X it now. Because I'm like, wait, we've only doubled each time. I'm like, I'm going to plan for 4X. By the time we finished it, we were full and running kind of out of a 20,000 square foot. And so as we're building those, I'm like, well, wait a second. I bought this for 500. I put 600 in and my appraisal's 3. Like that math works pretty well. And this one, I didn't even build it. I just found the deal and then I'm the tenant. So I'm a credit-worthy tenant. So it sets up really well. And so that was kind of our foray into it. And then I was helping a guy develop about 50 million a year over here, and then I would build a 24 unit. And I'm like, that's great, but my management team hates it, so we got to go bigger. Then I would take another one. And so now we do kind of minimum 72 units, ideally 96 unit buildings. But
is that in-house construction then? Like you're the GC on it, or are you third party?
no, so we ended up not taking that in-house, just the liability of it. I think you find the right GC and they'll save you more than you think you'll save yourself. And so now it's just we have our own internal kind of financing, audit, compliance, management, asset management, and then we farm out everything else from art. Everybody's like, well, bring in your own architect. I'm like, well, I don't want to be forced to do a project. I'd rather pay this guy a premium when we need him. And so it just really, we third party a lot of our stuff just for that reason. So
talk a little bit about 7296. Obviously, you're building 6 plexes and 12 plexes, and you're just maximizing. There's a
little bigger.
Just
so
18s?
Oh no, so we'll do up to a 36 block. So we do build them in towers. So they're all 3 and 4 story garden style walk-ups. Our build cost in Washington is a little more expensive, but we're roughly able to put a unit on the market for about $140,000 a door.
Damn.
So
Mark.
Hard cost construction, right? That's not carry cost.
What size of a unit is that?
So then our 2.2s are 920. It's a little smaller, but they have big walk-in closets, and then our 1.1s are about 570 to 620.
Yeah, you're building like 150 a square foot or something like that. Yeah.
hard.
150,
Hard cost.
Hard cost only.
Yeah.
And we have sales tax in Washington. We have things like that.
So to my question, how did you land on the 72 to 96? What hits that sweet spot? It's just the return metric?
So 7296, some of it's limited by density, but then most of it is that we need to be able to afford a full-time manager and full-time maintenance on
Okay,
site.
so it's the rent roll.
It's rent roll. Yeah, it's actually dollar amount. So we have a project that's 50 units downtown, but we're getting $3 a foot. That actually pencils the same as my suburban 96 unit.
Are you still doing 4-story walk-up on that though?
So 4-story walk-up, we're building our third one now. We were afraid of somebody trying to walk up 4 flights of stairs, but
That's what I
actually
was
that
gonna
rent's
say.
pretty good. The third floor is the one that doesn't rent as well because you have somebody above you and below you.
And you have to walk up a bunch of stairs.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, we haven't seen too much of a drop off in those. Again, we try to finish them at condo quality. So you're talking about like real quartz slabs. You're talking about undermount, nice, pretty much all the stuff you would see in a nice condo.
You're still at 160.
Yeah, and so we're just getting buying power, right? So I'm buying 600 sets of appliances.
Yeah.
I'm buying
loves you.
300,000 square feet of flooring in like a 2-month stretch. And so it works out really well. And so there's just a lot of lessons learned, supply chain things, so we're more cautious of that. Like I own like 10 of these main disconnects for buildings that are just sitting in storage. And so it's just like little things like that we're trying to see around corners. And I think the only corner we didn't see well around, or at least my assumptions were just way off, was how fast an interest rate would go up.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest.
Well, if it makes you feel better, there's a lot of other people in that exact same boat.
Including
I would
us.
almost say every commercial investor at least.
Yeah, and I think it was just how many chips did you have on the table when the music stopped, and I think that's where my mind shifted to where I'm like, no, we're in a really good spot, honestly.
Yeah.
But every time we stacked, it was to stack because I was selling these. So by the time they were done, I was transacting them, and so by the time those hit, I had this basically almost 140 of my own units. Like my cash, like my brother's, and I get them under contract March of 22.
Ooh, bad time. Oh, that's sad.
At market rate, I'm at $260 a door. I hit high water marks.
But
with
they
these
couldn't close before their
Till
interest
completion.
rate. Yeah.
So there's no lock of that, and I'm like, okay. So I was like, wait, rates are going to go up, but I'm like, what? 2 points, maybe 2, right? That's enough to do this. No, they go up 6, and so they retrade what would have been a $7-10 million profit down to 1. So we sell them, but I've already spent 4 thinking 7 was coming in. And so there's just this like, then I'm playing catch up, and then all the buildings we have there is like, wait a second, instead of you buying this now, a refi is 30% more down on 20 million. That project needs $6 million, and I need to be able to hold it for 24 months because lease ups slowed that far down. And so that's really like the juxtaposition. So it's like, all right, where else are you finding revenue? Luckily, we had management. We had some of these other sources, but that's really kind of, I think, the people that get pinched, and it was just how many did you have on it? Well, now We've stabilized all of them, and I think in 2 years I'll sell them for exactly what I thought I was going to sell them for.
So what's the goal with selling them rather than keeping them, and your philosophy around that?
So my goal was to get to 1,000 doors. We can't get to 1,000 doors if you keep all your money in each deal. And I don't like taking money out of the deal once we do it. So the idea was to stack up as much cash then we would take on that portion. But remember, that was back when they were doing ARV loans. And we're building at 140 a door, and they're worth 250. So I'm all in at 180.
Yeah.
Like everything I built had 60,000 a door in margin. It was like I was flipping 100 homes at one time.
What would you be at today, do you think? With how much expenses have gone up?
No, so I'm at that now. So I just had to tweak. I tweaked the design. Now. Yeah, so we tweaked the design to accommodate it. Yeah.
What's your layout now?
So we got more square footage because you have to understand during that time here's a good example. So it's the best story. If you ever build an apartment building, there's this main disconnect, right? Power company has to connect to your building, but it's through this one piece of equipment.
Yeah, can't get them.
Made in Mexico in an undisclosed location. Ship dates undisclosed. You have no idea when they're showing up, but you can't get any kind of certificate of occupancy until it's installed.
Yeah.
And so basically we're sitting there on the 72 unit. I'm supposed to be closing with these guys. And I'm like, let's just close this. Like, I know I can't refi it. And we're sitting there and I'm like, I'm shopping every black market site you can for this thing. And I'm like, can I go make one? They're like, no, you can't make it. It's got to be signed off. And we get down, they cost $7,500 a piece, right? I end up paying $87,000 for 2 of them to get them there on one project. The next project, I'm like, I can't find more of these. Jesus, I can't sell my child. Like, this isn't going to work. And so we redesigned the entire electrical layout to go from a 3-phase to a 1-phase.
Just to not have that disconnect?
And then closed them all on time. It's like the greatest accomplishment I ever did during that stretch. But the issue was that was inflated pricing up. So it actually has come down because now, like, we have a rule, we can't buy anything that can sit in a port. So I know I can get cabinets in China cheaper, but we had cabinets sitting in a shipping container.
Yeah.
And so now our actually they come out of Portland, but I could hop in a big box truck and get cabinets there. So we've literally switched our design to where nothing outside of those disconnects and maybe some small, even those we have. So yeah, it's mostly those disconnects were the ones that you just can't control.
You should just start stocking those up.
We do. So I have 10 of them. Yeah. And so then what we'll do is then we broke ground on 300 more units.
Possessions.
They are.
They're locked in my safe at home.
Yeah.
I mean,
those aren't in a warehouse.
That's $1 million worth of disconnects in the right market.
That is
It's a good investment.
Crazy. I didn't even think about it. I'm like,
on the balance sheet on your
so I'm losing over here, but I'm winning on the disconnects.
I flip disconnects for a living.
PFS has the disconnects on the top.
It's like the guy selling jeans to the gold miners, right? That's who made the money.
That worked out.
So you mentioned you didn't like the idea of taking money out of the projects to hold them. Why?
Just because I think where they got to perform, and I think the issue is that we get strapped with the cash, and most of the loans we were getting had 5-year, 7-year notes, and I'm like, I don't like where we're heading in 5-7 years. The last thing I want to do is be forced to do something,
Okay.
and so we already had higher leverage. That was the other thing. So I remember vividly, I sent a text. We were using debt funds. It was like when they first came on the market, so I could approve it up to $100 million for any project that worked, right? And they're taking ARVs. So all I'm doing is penciling this thing down. Yep, Farmer Joe will sell me the land. My builder said we can do it. I can get permits in 3 months.
And are you having to bring money down on that, or the debt fund is financing
I'm rolling
the
my
whole
commission
thing?
in.
And that's it?
And then they're taking our equity that we're creating between the two, right? So they're doing an LTV loan instead of an LTC, which they do now.
Yeah.
And so it's stupid. You can't give somebody that much rain.
Wait,
and so,
what?
so basically,
break that down.
Easier, right?
For the
So
layman.
let's do.
They're giving them all the money to build it.
That's what it sounds like. But what?
Yeah, let's call it a 100-unit building, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be all into that thing, even with their expensive debt for $200 a door. So $20 million. It's worth 25 with an appraisal. Well, I'm over 10% of 25 already. Actually, I'm at 20% of ARV.
Yeah.
And so then what they're like, hey, we need something. So I remember putting like $200,000 down on a 72-unit apartment building.
Does this still exist?
No, that was gone. Those are anybody who's burned did that.
Yeah.
They did that when they expected a sale or they expected something. So that same project, to keep it, I had to bring
Another 5.
4 million.
Yeah.
Five, what I should have brought. What I should have brought. What I should have brought. Yeah.
Cover at that point.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah. And so
You had to
that's
bring it later instead of up front.
And I would prefer not to do it when you're accumulating 10% interest on 15, 20 million. Right? That's kind of where it hit. But at the other side is like, also wouldn't have scaled this fast. There's no way to.
Yeah.
I just think there's a responsible way to do that, but it might just be do one project.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that. My mom told me that the other day. I'm like, what one? Who does one? I'm already out here working. Why don't I just throw 5 on the table?
What am I going to do with the rest of my time?
So what do you use as your debt structure today on the stuff you're building?
Yeah, so the 2 we just closed. So what we'll end up doing, we created a fund to help us raise. So rather than us put every dollar in, we brought a fund together to do it. And so it's a single asset raise. And so what we'll end up doing is finding 65% LTC on the project on a 3-year note, 2-year fully funded IR, and then usually what we'll do is we'll bridge into basically a bridge to HUD. And so we're designing all of them. Now they took away green standard stuff. So we're designing them all for that takeout. So before we break ground, we have an estimated takeout with kind of a better sensitivity test to rate volatility.
And those will be to hold then?
They'll
at that
hold
point?
now. Yep.
Okay.
And again, I say that, but the right offer comes. It's just going to be an interesting market because what's happening is just supplies going down again, just like it's supposed to. And so all of a sudden, I'll be sitting on 600 of these doors.
Yeah.
So you give me $250 a door, I'm back to the same number I thought I would have.
So is that fund for those 2 deals then specifically?
Each one of them had their own.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And so kind of over the course of those, I'm trying to think, it's probably 30, 40 million raised into those assets. But then again, you have frustrated investors who are like, why aren't we breaking ground? I'm like, look, I have this project we can't lease. And you're asking me to build it.
Another one, yeah.
Yeah. And then so there was a year and a half of, I'm not a great communicator because like I'll be in a meeting like this most of the day.
Yeah.
You're frustrated, you want to get a hold of me. And I'm like, do I call you at 6 p.m.? And so we've really had to, this last 2 years has been like, how are we communicating better? Because we didn't do a good job of that. And I think anybody trying to ever take someone's money, you need to figure out your communication plan.
Yeah.
It's important.
I could have solved it would have just been a simple text of, hey guys, this is not the market to put this building in the ground. We own the land. Just hold tight with me because it's a 5-year, it's 5-7 years on the money anyway. If I would have just sent that email, no problem.
Yeah.
So what do you do differently today to communicate better with your investors?
I send an update now every Friday on a project, whether it did something or didn't do something. And then now we've set up better portals, so our tech stack's better. So you get very inside kind of transparent access to what we do now. And then we started adding video. More video walkthroughs.
So there's
you
a little
get
more
really good feel.
transparency.
Yeah.
You feel like your investors start to feel like they're part of the project.
Correct. Yeah. Silence kills everything, and I wish somebody would have told me that. In my head, I'm like, no, I'll fix it, and then I'll update you.
One of the things I've seen of people who have failed over the last few years is they did a really great job communicating when there was good news, but then when there was bad news, they went silent.
So that was me.
I mean,
that was me.
Because it's really hard to share bad news. Yeah. I mean, it puts you in the hot seat, and if you got lots and lots of people that you're bound to.
And you should be bound to them. You took their money. You need to make sure you're communicating that.
Be
and
a good fiduciary.
And so what I learned through that, and so the cool part is now the debt's great. In the meantime, learned the importance of like lobbying. So we created a program. I don't even know how we did this. Take any unimproved site in Spokane. They called it a parking lot rule, but it really applied to anywhere you could park a car, which is land, right? And they gave us a sales tax waiver. So on this last project we just built, saved us $1.5 million.
Wow.
And then
crazy.
we had to increase the income limits for our MFT. So then we saved no property tax for basically 12 years. So we're building this product. Now it's about $12,000 a door less with 10% less OpEx.
Wow.
Like this is what we need to be doing. And so kind of it's allowed us to tweak our model there. There's still like a bunch of hair. Like I had a front page article, Jordan, what is it? This is how small Spokane is too, though, right? That this is a front page article. It's like developer Jordan Tampien faces foreclosure at Brick West. Front page article. Like the 3 projects I had that were like, how do I fix these? All hit the front page of the paper.
That's not the communication you want with your investors.
So I started communicating from that day on. It was kind of the trigger when I'm like, oh my God. Like they all knew that, hey, there's 2 buildings that are restaurants that it's just, they're going to be hard ones to save. Like these apartments will be worth it the next day. Mm-hmm. This one I had tough partnership that I was trying to navigate. And I'm like, but that's kind of where I was like, wait a second, you can't hear my news from the page. If you're in the circle, you should be in the circle.
Yeah.
So best thing we ever did, we changed that piece. And then I'm going direct kind of the debt funds and figuring out kind of this.
So when you say lobbying, you're getting political. So were you championed this parking lot waiver?
Yeah. So just with the city, because it's expensive to build in Washington State. And I think our rents are pretty high for where they're at now. I mean, that 2.2 that I was talking about, I mean, we're getting $17.25. That's not sustainable. should be 1,550, 1,600, I think would be fair. And so if we can implement things like this, it encourages me to build, and then it's no additional cost. Like that's a vacant piece of land that brings in $1,000 a year in taxes.
Yeah.
My building will be now $130,000 in 10 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty
win-win.
easy math if you're not short-sighted.
So why are you doing funds on these projects rather than syndication?
It is. Sorry, I was saying I was
you
wanting to move to fund. So it's all single asset. So you know what
Okay.
asset you're in.
Yeah.
I was saying that it's difficult to do every one of those raises.
Yeah.
And so unless we do what my mom said and scale back to one project every other year, the fund piece was what we were looking at next. Because then you can kind of be in it a little longer term. I'd want to work on some of the liquidity language and kind of redemption language, but I think that's probably the next evolution of it.
Yeah, and is that 30 to 40 million raised? What's the typical investor look like? Like $100,000 chunk, and you got a ton of them, or are you getting like $1 million, $2 million chunks?
It's a mix. So we did one project that probably wrecked my brokerage the most because it was a project that stalled. Was I think agents should invest. It's the weirdest thing to me that your only thing you're supposed to be good at, you don't even take advantage of. It's the craziest thing to me. So
Me too.
We built an apartment one. And again, this is still based on a model of I had the buyer lined up for it. So I'm like, look, guys, of all the ones, this is the one I would do. So we let them go down to $25,000. So we had to do a special exemption filing. And so that's the only one it was ever that low. But I had 25 agents in it
Wait, why did you have to do a special exemption?
because they're not accredited.
Okay.
So you can only have
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
unaccredited
yeah.
investors. And so we built, that's the only one we ever did. Otherwise, it's typically 250.
Like
and then
a
now my
rent-
new minimum will be 500. And then probably by next year, it'll be 1 million. And then one day it will be 5 million and it'll be one check. Like I think it's just the hardest one of like how much time we spend communicating the piece to it. That I think we're pretty good at finding the deals, and pretty positive if I frame it or put together big enough packages it'll appeal to the right buyers.
So are you personally raising all that capital, or do you have a team of people
Unfortunately,
helping
no.
you?
We didn't have teams yet, so like kind of it was just me. We had me, and then my brother kind of runs the asset management back end side of it, and so it's me right now. Yeah. Doing that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to raise.
Yeah, and it's fortunately when you do that many projects, create that much wealth. Like it's not that it's text. Like here's a deal, right? So I was just driving over. We're looking really big into covered land plays right now. Something that I can develop in 5 years. I just think the market will know what we know in 5 years, and so found this building has that same credit. Same MFTE. It's in a pocket I can have no density limits. It has an existing 3-story brick building on it. They want an 8 cap to buy it now, and it's a AAA credit. They have 4 more years left on their lease, and with an option to renew. If they renew, it goes up 20%.
On a property like that, you're going to go pretty tall, though, right? So are you starting to
Yes.
change your designs?
Tallest we did is a 5/2 podium. Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah,
7-story. I'll explain that one, but like that's what we're buying now. So then that's a text to like some friends. Hey, we need $500,000. I have this financing lined up. I don't collect any cash flow from it. So whoever brings the 500 gets whatever the return is, and then I'm just the developer when we build it, and then I hold my equity piece.
Do you have a specific return you're trying to hit for investors?
22 to 24. I don't think you can actually offer anything if you're not over 20. Like you probably shouldn't do the deal. Actually.
Yeah. Is it IRR or AR?
AR, yeah, or IRR. Sorry. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about actually listening to your podcast. I might actually switch how we evaluate
To AAR?
Yeah.
Is that based? Yeah, I was gonna say, is the IRR based on a sale in 5?
5. They're all based on sales in 5,
Gotcha.
up to 7, depending on the asset.
Okay.
Some of our newer podium style buildings just take longer to build and to kind of get in the market.
When you hold for 5, are you refining it too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you pull cash out at the refi?
If we can, yeah. So ideally, there's I can send you sometime, but
So
we send three basically performers out.
Okay. So you're calculating IRR based on the cash out in 2 years as well.
Exactly.
though.
So when I say 22, though, that's just
Yeah.
based off cash flow and a sell in 5.
So that'd
Yeah,
probably be like
yeah.
half of your investments getting recaptured at the refi, maybe? Do you think?
So that's a version, but then my IRR would be 30-ish.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
It'd be way
'cause
higher.
a
So
lot of
all I'm
people-
basing it on is one redemption
Capital.
piece, right?
Yeah.
It's cash flow. And
Oh, so
exit.
then that is more like AAR.
It is.
Because IRR would be calculated if you on the recapitalization in 2 years.
Well,
because
if you
they-
recap. So what I'll do is I'll send out three options of what this could look like, right?
Gotcha.
But we're never going to exceed a DSCR. So that's what we're capping it at.
Yeah.
Then we have sale parameters that have to be below a 5 cap, which may or may not happen before 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's when we would explore selling. It was if it drops to a 5 cap or below. And so then I'll send you 3 options, but we're basing the investment model off of you get no cash flow for 2 years really, because that's put in stabilized, and then the next 3 cash flow returns and then a sale. But then you'll see a model of, hey, actually rates went down year 2. Here's a redemption, and then the IRR just goes up from there. So
how much do you target that you want to own as the GP of the deal and split with the LP?
It's a crazy one. I'm just a curious developer. I just like doing it. And so for me, a typical deal will own 20%.
Okay.
And then we have a GP LP structure. So that will go anywhere from 10 to 20. And then we like to put cash in the deal. So it'll be a limited partner and a general partner in the same deal.
Yeah. Typically, that's what we'll do. We'll take minimum 30 on it is what we target right now. But it's hard to do the deals because we're hitting like
You're raising funds
40 to 50% return on the deal level
Yeah.
itself to then go to a 20 to investors because you're taking 30 off the top and then we're buying LP shares too.
Yeah. And I found most investors like having some skin in the game. I mean, there's a couple deals we'd put 0 in and got her 20%. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, especially the last year. Financing used to be a text. Now I'm spending 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a way different operation. So even why we're so lean was I didn't need them. Like
And
my
you're the one
broker handled
guaranteeing
everything.
it.
Yes, and we're guaranteeing everything.
So back in that heyday period where you could get that, 0 down kind of scenario, are you bringing investors in at that? Like it was totally just you, just getting reps, building that brand. People are like bugging you. Can I get in? So when the time came where actually you needed to inject equity, you had either maybe the guys that bought all those houses when you were early on and now they're watching and they want to get in. Like what is that evolution of building that brand through reps and then needing capital and being, a facilitator? Like, did that have a clear milestone in your
No,
journey?
I think that was the issue. I didn't have anything clear. It's just you could.
Yeah.
And when your goal is $100 million, you go until someone tells you can't. And that's such a terrible idea. God, I just remember vividly thinking. So I grew up in a pretty poor house. I think my dad made like 26 grand a year to feed 7 kids. And so like 20s to 30s, I remember vividly writing this down. 20s to 30s was like, how does money even work? I thought credit cards were income. And I'm at school here and being like, dude, they keep giving me money. I'm like, no, they're accruing a balance at 7% interest.
Yeah.
And so in that time, I'm like, wait a second, I really like this real estate game. I think I can make something here. And I think you need to own businesses, some type of affiliation because of the write-offs and the daily cash flow. And I was like, well, from 30 to 40, I'm going to risk every dollar every day. And so I bought the soccer team when I was 39. And it's like, I told you I was going to, like, this isn't a surprise. Like the same article that was bad there was 19 of them of Jordan buys another, like bought 52 buildings in 4 years. And so it's like, there was that run up, but I was like, if you knew what I was trying to do, but I wanted to learn them all. Like my goal is in 10 years that I actually fund like a company like this, but from a strategic level and operational. And so then I need my cash to do that. And then I'm just coming in and helping you guys, I've seen this one before. Or hey, call this person or do this and target service related companies. And then just use my own money to be your 250 seed fund to get it going and then just back operators. So I'm like, well, if that's your plan, I had to do what I did because I wanted to learn all of these things. But again, I can tell you how to build a 5/2 podium and why you don't build the 8th floor. I can tell you what elevators to use. I can tell you how to orient them to the sun, right? And it's things like that. Then that's what I think drove me most of the time. And then the whole time I'm like, well, I don't want anybody in these deals. I don't have to call people. And we could do it. And then when that we saw that tide shifting, wait a second, we should hold some of these. Like I don't want to have to keep recreating this wheel every day. I don't know if that was the right decision actually, because it was mostly the market change, but that's really when we started shifting and bringing funds on. So we have a couple hundred investors, and now we're paying them off and then limiting it down, paying them off, closing the circle, then paying them off, closing the circle. And then my goal is to have 5 to 10 people who understand it and they think a little longer term, because I can build a 2,000 unit portfolio if you give me the access. And it's like, okay, let's just find one group and do something like that. So,
where'd you get your education? I'm guessing your law background helps a little bit, but you've learned a lot more stuff since then. Is this was there any one main source that you went to figure this all out?
I'm just a doer. Like, you throw up sheetrock the wrong way and put the wrong texture on, have to rip it out. You don't do that again. And it's a lot of that. And then Bigger Pockets kind of came on the scene there. It's probably a traditional story that way. I think everybody should read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Just a mindset shift of what it does to how you think about it. And I also don't think everybody should do this. Actually, I'm a firm believer now everybody should. If you can't stay awake at night and not sleep, like, this is not for you. Go work for somebody. Come learn from you. If I could have switched, I would have come and worked for you guys for 5 years and been like, okay, let's learn what are we doing here? Because a lot of it was just assumptions, and I built terrible habits in a good market.
Yeah.
And it's just the ability to see it and do it. And so many other people are taking 5 years to go do it, and you're just like, opportunity.
Figure it out.
You just don't say no for a while. You You get pretty experienced.
2015 was a good time to figure it out, though.
And then I had a big developer, so I was developing his building. So the podium style wasn't any of my money, but I developed it for free.
Yeah.
And I learned all of it. And so then it's like, okay, what size of sewer pipe do you need for 50 units at 7 stories? Well, you don't need a 6-inch, you need an 8-inch because the flow's different. And then it's like, well, wait a second, what about your trash chutes? Well, they make echo chambers if you don't put the right compactor at the bottom. Like, it's just the littlest things. And then we own a management company. If I was just a developer, I wouldn't have understood that. But now I get the complaints.
Yeah.
It sounds like a thunder's rolling down when somebody's dropping a trash chute. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. All right, new trash chute, guys. And so it's allowed that. So 4 Degrees came from the idea of those companies should all work together. Management should be informing development. Development should be informing brokers and that side. And then we have a foundation that gives away what we make. So
that's the name, 4 Degrees? Got it.
So, yeah, no, it's been, I feel really fortunate. And then Spokane kind of was the perfect time of any time you could have been in Spokane. And it's fun to be a part of some of that growth, actually. So, still learning a lot. I think actually now I'm realizing I need a lot more to learn. It's just.
What did you learn a lot about partnerships during that time? Because I imagine there's a lot of people pulling at you that are, on the operations side or on the trade partner side that have a lot of value. And maybe that allowed you to create that velocity in learning, but I imagine it created a lot more drama as well.
Yeah, I think actually it's from this podcast I heard you say is like, don't bring somebody in if they don't write a check. Like, that's a new rule. Because I brought him on because I'm like, I'm terrible with employees. Because in my head, I'm like, why aren't you guys working? You're taking a break right now? We have so much to do. And then I'm like, nope. So my brother does all that. So the idea was, hey, I'm going to bring on somebody that does that. Well, those partnerships failed. So guess what I'm doing? I'm down at my brewery counting the till to make sure nobody's taking money. And I'm like, this is the worst possible use. And so for me now, I've become so selective. I'd rather not do the deal at this point. And so as I've gone through it, it's just, I'm too much of a salesman to be the money rate. So it's just setting up systems and structures so that you will hear from me of why I believe it's going to change the city of Spokane. And then you should have somebody come in right behind me and be like, but you could lose your money. Like, you almost need that yin and yang. And it was just me out in front doing it. So of course I raised it. And now it's like, okay, but I told you to bring back 10%. I need to make sure this brings back 10%. So I think it was just a matter of let's slow down. We realized we filled gaps with people really fast instead of understanding the system better. So we kind of cut back on staffing across the management company and across the brokerage and pieces. And so I think I'm really excited because it's just the most clarity I think I've had in the development world. And I think if you can build a system for the last year and still make things work, I think you'll do really well in the game. So,
what's your why?
That was good. That's a good question. Actually, we are entertaining this option to basically like 10x our management company. And I sat in the meeting for the first time. And I'm like, I don't know if we want this. And I think for the first time, I'm asking what the why. It was just fun. Mm-hmm. And it was because people said you couldn't. And I'm like, this is the worst. I'm not Michael Jordan trying to push people out. I'm like, what are you doing it for? And what I love is like, I literally will sit in our patio. We'll have 1,000 people. We got negotiated a deal with the city where we have our building. They had to put something underneath it, underpin on our building. So we leased this entire park for $1 that our brewery license extends to. And so like sometimes I'll just sit out there and watch 900 people that never would have been in that part of town if it wasn't there, let alone drinking our beer that was never there. Mm-hmm. And so that has always been kind of the why. And now I think I need to figure out a way to give back better. Like I said, I think it's going to be now 3 years of just learn me better so that I can do what I do better. So it's been a lot of self-reflection on it. And again, when you go to zero, or actually when you go severely negative and you're not sleeping, you do a lot of self-reflection. I'll tell you that much. So
you hit that point in 23, you're saying?
So yeah, 23 to 25, probably lost 10 million. I don't even know what I lost. And that was just mostly mine because it was like I have to sacrifice my project to keep this one alive. And so you're selling it, but I had 22 development projects going. And so you're just like picking through them. And I remember I had this schedule once where my wife, luckily she stayed with me and I have an amazing daughter, but like I couldn't sleep well. So then it would be a run all day. And then as soon as I felt tired, like I could go to sleep, it could be 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever it was, I'd go lay down because I knew I was waking up at 1. And then I'd work from 1 to 6. And then I'd go lay down because I was like, I need another hour, or 1 to 5. And then I'd go lay down and I'd get up at 6 and go to work. And that's the stuff that nobody tells you. And you're like, yeah, sure, it's cool. You own a building, like it's fun. Until it's not. And then what do you do? What do you do when it gets really hard? And so it's been that side of it where for 10 years, it was really, actually, I would argue it was harder because it was moving so fast. I was working way more, but I was winning. And so it was super easy. But it was the first time where I'm like, and so the second book I wrote was like, I had nobody that could help me in that situation. I couldn't go to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I have a capital call of $4 million. What do you do here? And he would give me a sweet John Wooden quote, but it's like, what I realized, right? And they were like, you hit this point where like, what we were building was bigger than the circle I built it on. Mm-hmm. And so now it's been like intentional. Like this one, yeah, I probably could have phoned it in over, which would have been great, but like, why not come learn? Why not come meet people and just really try to soak that part in? But it was, yeah, and it's still getting out of it, right? You don't get out of something like that in a day, but it's been make the phone calls. They're going to be really hard. Make them, keep them going, keep building. And so it was super exciting. We 2 projects that have been delayed for almost 2 years now broke ground. So it was 88 unit, a 72 unit, and then we're securing our final financing on a $30 million loan for a downtown office rehab that should close in March. So it's like all of them are coming back, and I'm like, okay, but we're not out of it yet. How to keep showing up, how to keep being that person, and yeah, it's a lot. And so basically, I was like taking all these journals. We started a podcast about the same time. We're not as funny, so we actually only have like a few listens. But
what's the name of your podcast?
I think it's my mom listening 10 times. But
that's how it all starts.
It's called Chess Not Checkers. And so the idea was who are people doing it at a different level, and what do you learn from them? And what you find is everybody has the same story. At some point, it got hard. Mm-hmm. And the ones that won stuck with it, even when it got harder. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of those. So I'd be journaling. So we are on our 60th episode. So I'm just taking notes, journaling. I'm journaling every day. And then finally I'm like, I need like structure to this because I'm just facing the hottest flame. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Gabe's yelling at me the most. But if I could just look past you, I know if I get this building going, I'll solve all 3 of your problems. And so I literally was like, hey, put it in ChatG, put this in some format. Take everybody's advice, put it in some format that I can use every day. And so it's a book called Stacking Bricks, and it's based off Bill Ackerman's comment where he's like, hey, when he lost $4 billion, and he's like, you can't look back up at Everest. That was probably cool up there. It was a blast, but if you're never going to get back up there if you look. So just take one step, make one phone call, do one thing and I started doing that, and then it's like, wait, I closed that deal finally. Because I wasn't trying to fix 15 things.
Inch it along. And
that was best advice. And so then that book is just full of everything I did to kind of get through those pieces. And then kind of at the back part is like what my new wealth strategy looks like. So
how do you manage your stress?
That's the hardest one. That's such a good question. I'm terrible at it. Big believer in God. So like I feel like I'm not in control of it anyway. But what really helped me was when I just started limiting it down. So every morning I just pick 3 things I got to do that day. So
that's so funny.
Break it up in small chunks.
I got 2 pieces of dad advice that one you've already touched on, but my dad, he says every morning for the last 25 years, or every night, before he leaves the office, he writes down his 3 things. Mm-hmm. So he's got a sticky note that's on his desk, and he says, because I used to be extremely stressed. Yeah. He says, when I started working, like I just could work all the time. He's like, I'd work for 12 hours a day. It didn't matter. Like I loved it. Mm-hmm. I was addicted. And then he said, but what happens is then you get home and you can't fall asleep because you're thinking, what do I got to do tomorrow? Yeah. And so he would write down his 3 things on a sticky note, still does it to this day. He sets it on his keyboard. He says, that means I can't touch my keyboard. I can't log in until I've looked at the 3 things that I have to do that day. He said, man, if I do those 3 things today, I won. Yeah. I did my day, right? Like, and as long as I do those 3 things, I moved the 3 things forward that I needed to move forward. I know I won. And so if I do it the night before, because I've done my whole day, then I'm thinking of all the top 3 things where it's like, man, I'm leaving the office. What do I need to make sure that I get done tomorrow? So on that note, he reduced a lot of stress. We try to implement that. I would say between Trevor and I being within our own companies, and now we've kind of moved that way where you just have a task list, and it's like, what's the 3 things that I can get done? But then 2, on the note of communicating to investors, I feel like I got super lucky, and not that this is all on Jordan, but I got lucky that I had both parents, but frankly, mostly my dad, in terms of who I was really, really afraid of. I just don't tell my mom when like bad stuff, but he always said, if you tell me something that went wrong, I'm never going to get mad at you. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to blow it out of proportion. I'm never going to, But if I find out from somebody else what went wrong, and that was from like a super young age, and like to this day, you know, when something, it's like, okay, I know that it's always going to be better that I brought it to him, or that I brought it to an investor, or that I brought it to one of my business partners. It's like, it's always better. It's always been better. And like, if that person isn't going to react in a way that's better that they heard it from me than they heard it from somebody else, then I shouldn't be interacting with them anyways. And like, that's never going to be the case, right? Like, they're always going to be a crazy person, right? They want to hear it from you. And so I just got lucky that I was trained that way, I guess. And not to say, but you had to learn that a much harder way, it sounds like. But I don't know that everybody has that, what is it? What's the word for it? I don't know.
Honesty.
Yeah. Transparency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like the withholding information can also be dishonest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Omitting.
And so omitting, yeah. And so to be an honest person, you have to be willing to have hard conversations. And it takes backbone. There's a lot of pressure. You know, it's a hard phone call to make, but you got to make it.
Yeah. And I think stress also comes from the vision we play in our head. And I was doing that a lot. I was like, okay, I know I owe Gabe a call. I know he owes 100. He's going to be so mad that I didn't do or did do or didn't do or didn't do. And then you don't call for a day. Well, guess what happens the next day? Now that pressure gets worse.
Yeah.
What about when you don't call the next day? And so what happened was I'd build up these narratives, and what's even harder, like it wouldn't have been as big a hole, but I was paying back people what they put in plus what I told them they'd make. And I had one investor, he goes, why don't you just tell me? He goes, we're just taking back what you owed me. We would go try another one. And I was like, damn it. I should have just made the phone call instead of trying to fix it and make it work. I should have just picked up the phone in 2023. Should have picked up the phone. Been like, all right, guys, this is going to be a ride, but I'm not going anywhere. Here's what I'm going to do for you every day, though, until we get there.
Talk a little bit about the stress of losing your own money versus losing an investor's money.
Yeah, so I have a weird connection to money. It doesn't really mean anything to me in that sense. Like I'm a guy that, like, if you ask me what I want, I just want my credit card to swipe and not look at the right side of a menu. Like, that's how simple I am. I don't need a nice car. I don't need to do a lot of things. My wife loves traveling, but like, and so for me, that part, the detachment from it is just a sunk cost. I'm like, I'm just learning. Like, I'm working on a $90 million build now. So if I lost 5 to learn how to build 90, was it worth it? Yeah. I'm going to build $1 billion of real estate. I mean, I'm at 300 million now in 5 years. I'm like, I can build it. If I lost 5 to learn how to build $1 billion, was that worth it?
Yep.
Yeah. The people who lose sight of money think that was the last dollar they had. And that's what I realized was not everybody looks at money like I look at. Like, if I lost, I did it. I invested in a buddy. He's a serial entrepreneur. He finally got one going that's good. It's like taking old Costco pallets and monetizing into a bid auction site. Should have invested in that one, not the other one. But and so I gave him $200,000, and then he calls and goes, Jordan, we lost it. I'm like, oh, okay. I probably should have asked you a few more questions of where I thought it was going. And I'm like, okay, so next time, it's not that I'm not going to invest. It's just before I put money in, maybe I do it in tranches. Or maybe I ask what the kind of exit is. And I think in my world, that's why for me, losing mine was easier than telling you lost yours. And so that's been the bigger part of the journey, was I realized it wasn't even the buildings. The buildings, none of them were wrong. I just had a point I was paying $600,000 a month in carry costs. You're going to eat through a lot of reserves very quickly on a development project if you have $600,000 in carrying costs.
So when you're waking up in the middle of the night, I'm guessing you're not doing that anymore, or are you still stressed?
This was it. I just had no structure because everything, like I said, was a fire. And I was like, that's what the first thing I would do. If you ever in it, as soon as it gets hard, just stop.
But you weren't setting an alarm to get up and work at 1.
No, I don't set alarms.
You're waking up at 1, about ready to have a heart attack, and said, I got to go sit at my computer and
as
get
soon as I wake
done.
up, it's like the first 3 things would go through my head, and I'm like, well, I might as well just go get this done. Nobody's emailing me back at 1 a.m. And it worked. Like, so actually, I had one New York. Most of our funds come from New York now. And they called and they go, actually, we did the loan because you were up at 2 a.m. We know you're grinding. So one weird one, if you ever want to schedule, send a couple at like 3 a.m. just because they know you're thinking about it that much. And we closed all those loans, and it was great. But I've never met more special assets people, more workouts with banks. And so I've been fortunate to have really good lending partners so far that have kind of been like, okay, we still want it back, but here's what we can do to do versus we're taking it back. So it's been that part of it. I feel more fortunate now having gone through it of understanding that. And but the same thing they would say, just call me. I'm like, what am I going to call and tell you? I can't pay you? Oh, that's not fun. They're like, yes. Just call.
Just call.
Just call. When you go silent, then we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So, best advice I ever got.
So 23 to 25. So the last 3-4 years have been pretty tough in real estate. I would say Spokane, from what you're telling me and what I've heard, was really kind of one of these emerging markets. Like you hit the timing really good on that, which benefited you on one hand because you could scale, but it also got you in trouble because you could scale. Talk a little bit about the pain of the last few years, especially with just expenses going up, interest rates going up, you're having cash in refis, you're trying to manage, you're losing money, you're doing, I mean, how did you move all those parts around, and how do you feel like that maybe leveled you up as a person and as a developer, and then where do you think we're at going forward?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, the saying, I don't know who's saying it is, but if you owe somebody $10, it's your problem. You owe them $10 million, it's their problem. I've fortunately benefited from that logic because we had so many assets in Spokane. And so what I was able to do was say, all right, here's our good ones, here's our decent ones, and then here's our bad ones. And so I'd have to offset them, and I'd just kind of lay them all out like a Monopoly board and be like, all right, unfortunately, these were supposed to be my legacy assets. We're going to have to trade those three to get these ones done. And so and then anybody I owed, I said, hey, look, here's about 20 million of equity. I can trade you shares of this for that. And so basically spent about 4 months just saying, hey, look, this still has the same thing because I do believe this market comes back. Spokane can absorb about 700 units a year. That's what it's supposed to do. It's designed to do that. It adds 5,000 people a year. We put in 1,900 2 years in a row. And then the issue is we have these builders that have their own construction company, and they're billionaires that already own the land. So if you build next to them, they could drop $400 off the rent. Yeah, because they don't care.
Can't compete.
So then you're learning the value of those. And so I think what happened was I took a very micro perspective, and now it's only macro. And I think that was the best change for me because I went from a flipping background where I just had to know what the block looked like.
Yeah.
And I tried to scale a flipping background to a 100-unit apartment building. It doesn't scale. It gets lost at 5 units, basically at 4 units. And you need to level up yourself from that 5 to 20, the 20 to 100. And I think as we were looking at it further, I just got blinded by 22% appreciation. You're like, how do you go wrong when you're doing that?
Can't lose.
And I was like, idiot. I'm saying it out loud, and I'm like, what was I thinking? And then I remember vividly in 2020 when COVID hit, I was like, all the money left the table. And I said, we are either going to double down and I'll get us to 300 million, or we stop now. And I retire, we scale way back, we shore up retained earnings, and obviously, and I'm like, we're going, man. I got to get to $1 billion. And I'm like, again, driven by stupid logic. But I think the issue that we're running into is like, you're not going to be able to build these for less. Everybody keeps thinking something's going to come replace the cost to build them. It's not. Even if a robot comes and does it, that robot still costs money and maintenance. It's not. And so what I'm running into now is I'm becoming more bullish on long term. And so I think we're going to become Spokane specifically will become a renter community. Yeah. I don't think apartments are the answer. Our code just doesn't have very many fixes otherwise, but it's not townhome. So we're working on kind of some exploratory like mixed concept buildings right now.
Break that
concept
down.
development. So working on one right now, it's 520 units, but it's going to be 520 with like a swimming pool aquatic center in the middle of it. So we're going to have a retail component. You're going to have coffee shop. We're going to build a community within an apartment community. So you see it a lot in subdivisions. They'll have this kind of master plan subdivision. We want to do it in a tighter space. And so what we'll do is basically we can absorb it across 540 units. You can't, right? You need a number of units to do it. And so it'll be what kind of amenities can we do where you basically within your halo have everything you need.
Where would parking go? Are you multi-level basement or something?
It's one of the arguments I believe. I think parking becomes a non sequitur as we go forward. Like I think that'll be one that gets replaced with
self-driving cars,
self-driving, and just the need for it. And I think if you can create a community where you have to drive less, that makes a lot more sense. And so
off-site, I guess too, like valet.
There's a lot of those complexes in DC too. And those are insane. Where it's 500, 1,000 units. They took up multiple blocks, and then they have their basketball gym, multiple swimming pools, the dog park, office, like office, everything, just in this one thing with the grocery store at the base. And they're insane when you go over there and start looking at them.
Well, it's great. And then now, what are you selling when you're getting there? Because the other thing we're running into is competition. Like I also think we're going to have a generation that just doesn't want 5,000 square foot homes. Yeah. I think you're going to have people that can't actually afford said 5,000 square foot home. And so for us, it's like, well, then build a community that limits your cost to live. And so why did I buy a gym? Because what's going to go in there? A gym. Why do I have a brewery? What's going to go in there? A brewery. Like all the things we already operate on, we're going to put into those communities and then just vertically scale that side of it. And so you'll have a mix of townhomes, cottage, apartment, true traditional apartment, and then interior controlled corridor housing. So within this one community, you can have 55 plus, you could have families, you could have all those parts, but with that many units, because you're talking about 100 million build, you could actually afford to put these other amenities. And I think Spokane, before you could just put up a building. Now you can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be most communities where people want to be.
That's what I was going to ask. So what's the MSA in Spokane?
So do you know Boise very well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we think of it a lot like Boise. So Boise's Treasure Valley is just over $1 million. It's like $1.2 million. Spokane Valley, not the city, but the valley is about $1 million.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I see it getting to about 1.5 to 2, just because we already have the natural resources. So you just got to give people a great place to live they can afford.
Have you thought about population decline? Not that that's something that we want to talk about as developers, but that makes me nervous long term as a developed country. Is it's like we're not having nearly as many babies. Obviously, people are immigrating from out of country as well as in country to the right places. And so is your take just that Spokane will be desirable enough, or do you even think about? I assume you have.
Yeah, I mean, so then what you look at is what do you have someone else can't offer? Mm-hmm. So we don't have any natural disasters for the most part outside of forest fires, but they usually are obviously out in the periphery. We have cheap water, cheap power, abundant water. We have 42 lakes within an hour. We have 7 ski hills within an hour. And then we have an international airport that and then the city's putting money in the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. We also have a lagging, so then now you're looking for barriers to entry, right? We also have a lagging infrastructure problem, which means we can't develop like a Boise. Because that's my bigger fear. Where I got hurt the most was in Boise because I bought a $9 million piece of dirt here, went to develop. Well, Roundhouse went and bought the one next door and developed a better one. And you're like, how do I compete with this? And so I'm starting to look for markets where it lacks that competition, or where I have an advantage in that
constraint.
And so for me, population decline I think is a big deal, but I think in areas like where we're at, and I think here is probably very similar. I think if we can get the politics piece of it figured out, but that politics will also attract dwellers, right?
Yeah.
It sucks sometimes for landlords, but it's also a place people will retreat to as well because that's what they want.
And it restricts development too, so there's less people.
Exactly. And so I think what we have to start really looking at is the type of unit we're putting out. And that's the bigger one.
That's what I was going to say. So on that 500 unit development, I mean, what's the mix? They're not doing 2 2s and 1 1s all over.
No, so that's what I was saying. So in that one, we'll have a massive commercial drop in the middle. Some multi-mix, 2-story, but it'll be like a YMCA you dropped just for these residents, plus retail, patios, the whole works. Then you're going to have a traditional, which would be built first because it's the easiest to get financed. Then we'll have a for sale, townhome cottage style, and then we'll have like a senior living, which is controlled corridors. So then your elevator is kind of the little nicer. And so you're going to give 5 different types and pricing units within that one housing development.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
It's getting me fired up.
Yeah, it's super fun. But so you just have to think of it a little different. And then the hard part is it's like, well, it's 100 million. Well, it's almost harder to get 10 million right now than it is to get 100. And so it's just like, as you're looking at it, does that make sense? And can you build it for that amount? So.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So I kind of want to, we're close on time, not that it really matters at all, because we run the thing. But I want to go back to your thought on how you view money really quick and why you don't care about it. Do you think part of that is because of your upbringing, or do you think part of it's maybe because of religion too? It's not your money. It's just your job is to do as much as you possibly can.
I'd say it's religion, but I also think some of my happier times was our very first 3-bed, 1-bath, 700 square foot, and we're playing beer pong on the top of our hot tub cover. I would argue I was probably happier then. I just didn't know what was out there.
Yeah.
I think the more I keep seeing that's out there, I think that's what's causing me to be less happy. And it's like, wait, I don't want that. I think I'm going back to Portland, going to hop on first class at Alaska and fly home in 45 minutes. Did I need a private jet to get here? No. And I think what I'm starting to really realize is I see more need in the world than I've ever seen. And I feel like we're in a position where we should be able to affect that, not just drive profits, but affect change. And so it's just really put in my heart to go that route.
Yeah.
And then I just think we're put on earth to learn. You should be curious. It's just the hard part. Like I had people, it was the most mixed results ever when that article came out too. Again, I have to call every lender, every investor, and then in a city where, again, it's not huge, but a few people know who I am. It's like half hated me. And I'm like, why did you hate me for? I did a startup brewery in a part of town and aluminum went up 30%. Of course, this is bad. And then I had half that were like, just keep going. This is what it looks like. And I think too many times we listen to the other half.
Yeah.
And I think the more people that could be like, wait, you get one shot at this life.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have hard moments. That's all I know is I think anybody who builds 100 units will have this problem.
Yeah.
You will.
The only way you
what
lose
you
is
wish
if
for.
quit.
This is everything I wish for. I've built 800 units in 2 years. Everything I wish for, I'm getting. I'm also getting all the things I didn't know come with it. I think too often we avoid trying to shoot for something. And so, no, I just, like I said, big believer in God that has a path. And so now it's just like one of those, I'll have one where I don't have the answer. That's happening more and more. But it's like, I'm like, all right, just let me know. I'll make the phone call. If you give me an angle, I'll find it. And then I'll just keep going.
I think it's really interesting that you talked about learning is fun. And I think that is probably the most fun we can have as human beings is to learn. The problem for me is I only learn when my ass is on fire. And so then I start to wonder, like, well, is that when I only have fun when my ass is on fire? It's like, there's this double-edged sword to it. It's like, I want to learn. I'm having so much fun. But then it's like, I want to have fun when I'm winning. Like, to your point, you're like, oh, I was going through this thing and I was working all the time, but I was winning. Yeah. And then when you're working all the time and you're learning, and then you're learning the most valuable lessons of your life, that's when you're up at 1 a.m. and you're stressed out, and you're just like, how am I even going to survive through this? And that's when the biggest growth comes. But it's not necessarily, it doesn't feel fun in the moment.
Oh, no. If you feel every emotion, it is the worst feeling you'll ever feel.
And like you said, not everybody should do this because this is not for the faint of heart.
I mean, because the easy answer, that's why they created bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The easy world, I would have just said, sorry, guys, this is in the PPM.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell these at a break even or a loss. And then, I had a personal guarantee. Sorry, I'm just going to reset. And I think choosing not to do that was the best decision I ever did. It's cost me more. It's going to cost me 5 years of my plan. But at the end of it, I think I feel better.
Yeah.
And I feel like you get put in a situation you think you can't do anymore. I saw this awesome clip when I was coming down here. It shows who won the gold medal in 1946 doing the what's the bar where Simone Biles bounces off and does the flips and stuff?
Yeah.
And all
gymnastics.
this, it's the gymnastic ones, but it's the bar
yeah.
and then bounce off it. And this person doesn't handstand and then falls on her feet. Simone Biles does a triple flip with a spin. And they're like, when you think that's the standard, there is more.
Yeah.
And I think that pursuit of better is what I enjoy. And then how do you distill it down so that you 10 years ago would hear it?
Yeah.
So my challenge the next 3 years is how do I distill down all of this into something my daughter would understand? Because she's going to have the same stubbornness I have. And I would not, you told me this and you would have said, Jordan, you're over levered. Okay.
Whatever.
Sure.
I'll figure it out.
I'm doing it different. No, you're not. Nobody's doing it different. Now your strategy could be different, but like it's your mindset of how you approach it and what you put in. And then I think everybody has different risk tolerance. And so what I have to do is adjust mine then if I'm bringing people's money on. So my goal would be to get to where I don't bring people's money on. And I'm going to go tackle the most crazy stuff out there because I enjoy it. So I think that's been the biggest one is just getting to know yourself through it and put yourself in a hard spot. And the more you can simulate that, the better. And if it's a hard call, do it now because it's only going to get harder.
That's
and
right.
it's just like those things of like, just pick up the phone and go. And so, no, I think it's good. And I think vehicles like this, the issue is that there's like 5,000 podcasts. And it'd be cool if some people can just distill down to where you're hearing that information because I think you could simulate a lot of this pain.
Yeah.
And build a model that actually has the fun without the pain.
Yeah.
Like, let's build with cash. There's no pain if we're building with cash. There we go. So I'm going to raise $100 million of cash. And then that project would be fun. It'll still have hard pieces within it. And I think that's what, as I'm getting to this point, I'm like, every day I have to put out fire somewhere. Somehow. It's like sitting out here waiting for you for 15 minutes. I put out 4. And it's like, and there's half of me that's going to be the most relieved I've ever been. And then there's half of me that's sad.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest feeling. Like you asked me 2 years ago, I'd be like, take it all. Look, I don't need any of it. Just let me start over. And now I'm like, man, there's an element to growth that only happens with fire.
Yeah, Mark always tells us to be thankful for the problems because that's what we were put on earth for.
Mark has a lot of problems, though. Yeah, Mark has a lot of problems. He has the harder side. Yeah,
he loves it.
I love it. But the what I've learned about this entrepreneurial wiring that we have is like you move from chaos to chaos, and that's when you actually feel like you've done your part of it. Because every day I walk in the office, I have this tempt to be like, what's the biggest problem right now? Like, what can I solve? I'm like so antsy to just... and you get a little bit of like stalled out and you start to feel it. You're like, this is kind of weird. Like there's not anything going wrong. Like I need to go solve it. But I remember telling Gabe like about that theory I had a couple years ago and we had a lot of problems was, I was like, I feel like we've graduated to the next level. And Gabe's like, I don't want another level.
I like my level.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to get any better at this. Like, I don't want these problems to get harder. Mm-hmm. But that's really what happens is we get so much better at dealing with it. It's almost laughable when you think of the old problems you had.
Count it all joy when you encounter various trials.
So true. Well, okay, yeah, and like that, we took on this historic rehab 96 unit redevelopment. I stayed in Portland last night, and it's such a cool downtown. I don't see how you guys think it's coming back yet, but we'll explain that later.
Oh, you should have seen it a couple of years ago.
Oh man, that still looked rough, super rough. But you just look at like. When you look past that and see the other parts, some of the coolest architecture rebuilds in the in the nation. It's the coolest downtown, and so I think as we dive in, well, now all of a sudden I'm learning about more asbestos abate. Right, real estate is the coolest thing because you're always going to learn something.
New.
Even when you're good, you're going to learn something new. You just got to. The difference is you don't panic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you start to look ahead of, all right, so my DD list, I remember the first one I was probably written down in handwriting. It was like 10 things long. My new one is like 10 pages.
Yeah.
And now it's at least check it off. So it's not that you even get better. It's just like, all right, did we check for asbestos? All asbestos. Anywhere. Like did the surveyor actually do their job? Can we sue them if they didn't? Right? And so it's just this whole thing. But I made the mistake, therefore it became a checklist item.
Yeah.
So.
We had a guy come on a couple months ago who initially when I met him, he was like, I mean, he does well. He's in self-storage though, but he does it nationwide. And he was telling me that he had a pretty good DD checklist he felt like built out. And I was like, I'd love to just like take a look at it, right? Because I just get to kind of learn the lessons that you didn't learn. I'm going to have to learn them on my own nonetheless, but I can look at it. And I was like, can you like send it over to me? I was, yeah, for sure. He sends it over to me. It's 750 checkpoints.
Oh, yeah.
And he has it broken down by like the feasibility piece, physical, legal, financial. And it's like, did we check for, it's everything. Stuff that I was looking at and I was like, I don't even think that applies in Oregon. And he was like, no, that's just for Georgia. Yeah. But we gotta have it on there. Like, you can't forget.
Yeah, you gotta do the hardest standard for all of them. Yeah, like I had to do my first, this last lender for the big loan required a rate cap. A rate cap endorsement. And I remember on the call, we'll get that lined up. And I'm like, I got off and I'm like,
you got to find what's a rate cap?
A rate cap? I'm like, I understand a rate cap, but it was like even different. So it's this insurance
like
you get against, essentially insurance I get against the cap rate going up.
That's awesome.
Or the interest rate going up. And I was like, oh, okay, I learned that one. That's a checklist item. Should probably add that to our checklist. So
There's one point I want to drive home too. We had Rob Beardsley, do you know him, on Lone Star Capital?
Oh, yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Really awesome, really sharp guy. And when we were talking through his strategy, because he had a really ramped up, a couple year compression there, and a lot of his investors are big check guys, and it really drove home to me because the strategy that he put forth on day one was that long-term strategy, despite the turmoil in the middle there. And I felt like so many times younger guys or, that haven't quite figured out what you figured out with just sticking to the plan and training the investors on what the plan is, despite the headwinds and things. And he said it really well, and I can't repeat it exactly, but it was essentially he is leading, the ship. He is driving it. And despite some investors with some experience, some with, he has to continue to keep that message and stick to the business plan despite all the headwinds. And when you mention I'm just going to make a fund of cash and that's going to be the plan, and all my investors know the plan. And despite all the challenges, like other people think that's a terrible deal. It's like, that's not your deal. This is our deal. This is the plan. Stick with me. That message only really works when you exercise that communication along the way, because they're going to probably feel the outside influence, see the newspaper, see whatever. And I think that as a fiduciary, we got in that position because we have the vision. We have to just stay strong in that and understand our principles in that. And it's just changed the way I've looked at these deals, because there's just so much adversity at every corner. And the second you waver a little bit,
it's huge. I mean, my brother Joel gave me the example. Do you ever watch The Big Short?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the scene where
times?
So his character, right? He makes this big play, believes in the fundamentals, but is losing $200 million. Investors are banging on his door, and then he walks out and writes, what was it, a 1,500% return, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the big one then, if you take that approach, is you need to be the best at what you do.
Yeah. The confidence in your
because
skills.
you have that confidence can't lack, but it's got to be based on what you do well. And I think that's where too many people skip over, and they try to, like I said, I think that scale piece is bigger than I gave it credit for anyway. yeah, I think it's just, and then you got to communicate.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to come back. We didn't make you cry this time, so we're going to try to make you cry on the next episode.
Don't make me cry, though. My brand
I think we'll all
that.
cry with this one. Yeah.
All right, guys. Jordan Tampien on Deal Junkies. Jordan, you are an amazing guy. It's been really fun to get to know you. Thanks for being on the show today. We hope to have you back again, and we will come back and do another episode and talk about deals.
And if people want to reach out to you, what are you looking for, and how do they get a hold of you?
Oof, please don't right now.
If you have 100 million cash,
His real name's not Jordan Tampien.
No, I mean, it just, I think on Instagram, Facebook, we have website, it's pretty easy to find my number. But yeah, I think we're still building that ship, and I want to be, like I said, super confident on phase 2 of this thing. So.
All right. Jordan Tampien, 4 Degrees Real Estate. Deal Junkies, we love you. Please share us with someone you love, and we'll see you next time.